Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Autodesk 3D Studio Max Elementary course. In our Unit 2, Lecture 4, we are going to talk about the basic concept of 2D design in 3D Studio Max. So basically, in this lecture, we're going to have a quick introduction of the concept of 2D design and how we create those 2D design, whether they are line, text, what's the available types within. And then we're going to see the concept of closed loop to create, and how it's important to create the correct geometry in 3D Studio Max, and of course that by usually applying the Extrude Modifier. And then we're going to have a quick look for the 2D parametric shapes versus the edit Spline. So what are the shapes, or what the available shapes we have? It's basically, we can go up with a simple line. It can be considered whether it's a straight or it's curved. It can be the basic shape. It could be arcs, ellipse, egg, donuts, and stars, n-gons, which is like a triangle or square or pentagon, whatever the amount of sides you have, whatever you want to call it. And then full enclosed circle, helix, which are basically a 3D curved line. And the one really important is the text, and also rectangles. Also, there is one last inside the 2D shapes command, which we call it section, which allow you actually to cut a 3D. This one is really important because it's technically allow you to cut any 3D geometry and get the 2D section out of it, which is really important for us architects to create sections and plan based on our sketches in 3D Studio Max. Now, the concept of 2D design in 3D Studio Max, basically we start up with shape. So the shape is an object made from one or more curved or straight lines actually, and you can end up that or leave that as an Spline modeling and NURBS modeling curves, and they are here exactly in the create panel, but not in the geometry. So previously we was working on the geometry panel. It's this one, which is as the illustrating here symbol, it can tell you that it's just a 2D circle with a 2D rectangle, rather than this is sphere and have a shading. So it's a good way to recognize that both of them are creation process under the creation tab here. And in this one, that's the available 2D shapes starting from the line and end up by the section. And the first thing that we need to talk about is line. So let's go to 3D Studio Max and have a look. So again, that's the creation method panel, and that's the shape. That's a create tab, sorry, and that's the shape panel, and you can find that all the available lines to be created and shapes to be created here. The first one is line, which is this guy here. And the first thing, there's lots of other options that I'm going to skip for now, and this is, as I said, it's a very basic introduction to that for those who don't know 3D Studio Max. So I'm not going to go in detail explaining the other techniques. I'm going to go shortly to help you to quick and run work with those lines. For me, it's important to understand the idea of initial type and the drag type. So the initial type here is basically when you click one single click in your mouse, and that the relationship that the first line and the second line within the same chain of line will be, and it's corner. And the drag type is when you click and drag, and it's gonna be there. I'm gonna make it smooth actually for now, just to I'm gonna explain those also, but I'm just gonna make it smooth. So now let's keep in mind, if I normally click, it's gonna be corner. If I click and drag, it's going to be smooth. Let's see that. Good idea and wise to start up with the top for the beginning. So corner, that when you click here and then you click here and then you click here, as in normal clicks. I'm not click and drag on the left mouse button, so just click. See, it's create corner relationship. There's no curvature in it. See, click, 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 and so on. It's like making corners in straight lines, corners and straight lines. That might be useful for us architects to create walls. Now, if you want to create curve, now you have to click and keep clicking while you are going to the second point. Now, if you remove your finger from the mouse, you're going to get corner. Actually, you're not gonna get exact corner. It's gonna get a curved, or the type of curve we call it smooth curve, which is this one here. Now keep click and drag. See, click and drag, and then remove your hand. It differs from click, click, click without dragging. So that can be a really interesting topic. So right click to cut out the command, and by that we create a chain of small lines that define one big line made out of corner line relationship with the smoothed one. I can make that the drag bezier, and in this case, when you click and you keep it clicking, it's gonna create kind of a crazier types of joints here. It's this it's the curves not even and not smooth when it's enter, and as a comparison when it's leaving the point. So see, it was here the point. So this, it's not smooth entry and smooth out. They are not the same angle and not the same amount. Rather, they have been dragged in a specific direction. And wishing that when we reach the edit Spline, I'm gonna explain for you in more detail what's the bezier and why it's worked like that, and how you can control that. But for now, let's assume that this one will create uneven. It's actually can allow you, if you study that in detail, to have more options rather than the smooth. But the smooth is really good for you as a beginner to make a curved side point instead of a corner one. You can go ahead and change the smooth, the initial type, into smooth from corner, and by this there is no more straight lines anyway, like this. See, all of it is going to be curved as a corner, as you can see, like that. Right click to cancel that, and it depends again of what you want. Okay, you might need to spend some time in order to excel in using this. So you click that if you want to make it straight. Now the first question in your brain, you're going to go hitting shift and continuously moving your hand like such, you know, and you close that loop, and you're going to get this important message telling you that you want to close the spline. I'll say yes. Closing a spline will allow you to make a 3D closed geometry. We're going to talk about that very soon in this lecture. Anyway, so that's it basically in lines. Let's have a look at rectangle. Now if I create a rectangle here, I need one click and keep dragging, and the second click, you know, to create the other corner. So technically I'm here. Let's repeat that. So one click, and then the second click, you know, the next corner. While you are still in the creation panel, I didn't click outside, so this is still white. This is the parameter still working for it, and we say that a couple of times. Let's make this 100, and let's make this another 100. And now if I zoom in here, you can have look at, you know, the corner radius, so you can make it fillet corner. So see, increasing this carefully will cause the corner to be filleted and curved as such, you know, like it's like a radius of a 20 units here. And now we get a fillet corner. Circles, and they are lovely, just one option. So the one parameter actually, so you need to click here anyway to specify the center, and then another, I'm still holding the mouse, so another leaving or another clicking. It's actually just leaving the mouse will decide where exactly, which is the radius, as you can see in the parameter here. Exactly. So look to the right, lower right part of the screen, see, and you remove your hand, and then you can come here and they make this 50, and that's it. Now we have the circle. Now ellipse, so one click and then the second click to create the first axis, and that's what we have here. And we can come here and change the length and the width. Okay, there's an option here oft, which actually called outline. If you tick it, it's going to allow you to create, you know, like a wall. And that's really important for us architects again, to create our wall shapes. arc, so one click, and then the second to specify the second point, and then to specify the amount of curvature you have. So the radius, see that point is the radius, and the from, which is how far it goes, the length of the first from the specifically, so from the first point you specify, sorry, and then to the other way around to move it. So you're almost creating or having the ability to create a circle like shape actually, sorry. Now donut, and now we start to get hungry. So here one click, and then specify the radius, and then the second click to specify the second inside radius. It's basically two circles inside each other. So again, that's one, and that's two. End gun, which is again one click for the radius, and then the second click to specify to specify the radius for that. So one click for the center, and the second click for the radius, and again it's here, that's the radius. And inscribe and circumscribe is deciding the distances from the center here to this point, and the other one is the distance from the center to the midpoint of that, so where you want it. So this number, if you say 100, okay, is it from this point to this point, or it's from this point to this point? That's the difference between inscribe and circumscribe. Anywho, let's go and make sides differ. So 5, 4, 3, that's the minimum, like this is pentagon, and so on and so on, and deciding how many sides you want. And again, another lovely corners thing. So if you increase that, like you're making the edges roundy, so and that's spooky thing. If you hit it, it's gonna be changed into circular. It might be useful for you in animation phases or in the morphology phase when you want to change this into a sphere. Anyway, star is really, as the name goes, the first click for the center, the second click for the radius, and you can make it just a star exactly like, or you go very closer to the end gun, like this or like that, even whatever you think of it, and whatever the relationship between the first radius and the second radius. So again, that is the first radius, okay, and that is the second radius, and the default value for this command is 6 sides or 6 points. Let's make them 5, for example. And again, see, the default value usually for this command is 6 sides or 6 points. Now we go to distortion, and we're going to distort the relationship between the axis and the radius. It's actually going to shift it, and now you can have less killing sides. This one, that's for the inside, and less killing sides for the outside. Now it's not like a ninja thing. Anyway, so that's the star. Let's go to text. Text is very powerful. All you need is a click, and yes, here I tell you max text. Now I see that's disappeared. It's okay, go to modify, and what we have here, size, so self explained here, and kerning is basically the distance between the letters, so if you want them close to each other or far away from each other. And leading is actually the distance between the lines, so max is, and then I hit enter. Really good. Alright, so now see the leading, how it specifies the distance between the lines, while kerning is to specify the distance between the letters. So that's it, you know, that's that text. You can of course change the fonts, the italic, underline. I'll leave that word processing thing for you, it's self-explained. Now again, back to the create, and then I will go, you know, I leave those two things to the end, so I'll go egg again, getting to feel hungry again. So egg, I don't know why they add this command, but they add this command. So here we go, 2 eggs inside each other. So length of the egg and width of the egg, you know, I don't know, make no sense. Outline, you know, and then the thickness, if you turn on that, the thickness will specify how, you know, fatty this egg or no. And the angle, and is it rotating or no. Lovely, I just can rotate it from that way, you know. Why they're adding this, spot disk. Now we go to section and helix. So helix, basically I'm gonna create it in 3D, it's easier for you to understand. So I'm gonna click, and you know, the first click was for the center and the second click for the radius, and then when you move your hand up, you know, now you are creating a 3D shape, a 3D helix. So I'm gonna leave my hand. See, it's very basic geometry. A little bit annoying for the first time to look at it, but it's okay. See, now you can change the parameter. So the first radius is basically starting from the lower one, and the upper radius or the second radius is for the top part. Anyway, the height, it's the distance between this point and the lower point vertically. Turns might be interesting for you, so you know, like 3-4 turns. See, turns with height make more sense. That's basic, again, basic animation. That's the stretch, you know, and compact. And the bias will make, you know, it goes closer to one side on the behalf on it's being closer to the lower side, you know, smoky thing. And that's the direction of rotation based on the clock movement. That's it for those shapes. So all of them are basically a shape creator like this, or 2D shape creator. So I'm gonna select them all and delete them. And in order to explain a section, I will need to create a 3D shape. So I will go with this poor teapot that I always, you know, test on it, like this guy here. And now I'm gonna go to the shapes, and I'm gonna make here a section, and I'm gonna draw this. It's just it goes forever, both sides. It's just an imaginary plane, and now I'm just gonna move that up. And when you move that up, you're gonna see that 3D Max is actually showing you that it sense where it's cut, where this plane cut this geometry, by showing you this yellow, you know, lines. So if this is a building and I want to cut that shape of it to get my plan, I have to specify the height of this object based on the, you know, the 1.1 or 1.2 or 1, whatever you want for the height for the plan. They're going to cut the plan horizontally. So the section, if it's going to place horizontally here, the section command, I mean, it's going to create for me a plan, or you can rotate that with a 90 degree and it's going to create sections for your architectural section, I mean. Anyway, so let's move the section command to any specific point, and then I go to the modify, and I have this. Let's call it create shape. And what is the name of the section object? I'm gonna call it plan, because it's a horizontal cut, you know, turning off everything. And then if I just select this guy and delete it, you know, and even select the section and delete it, I have a plan. I can just go and export that to AutoCAD from export here, export, okay, and then choose whatever type of export you want. You can go here, DWG, and then open it by a CAD, and then trim those points, and I get the plan for that. So that's really nice, you know, if you are sketching something and then you suddenly decide that, yes, I want, you know, I want to have a plan for what the sketching, whatever I'm sketching. So now in the 3D rotation, or on the rotation actually, I can just go and 90-degree that. See? And back to move, and I can move that like this, see? Exactly. Yep. And then I hit create shape, and then I go ahead and move that guy away and move the section, or even delete it. See, now I have that plan and that's my section. Yeah, you might find a little bit annoying because this is not really end up correctly. It's left as a gap here for some reason. So you can go ahead and export that and then close that inside inside AutoCAD. And that's how we can make quick plans and sections as architects or interior designer made out of this command, made out basic sketches that we have inside 3D Max. So again, that basically the explanation for the section. So if I back to my PowerPoint, so that's basically lines, text, and again that might be useful for you if you want to remember how to create. That's the steps. All that has been taken from 3D Studio Max main help 2013 actually. Rectangle, I make a square, rectangle, or fillet corner. That's again the steps. Now the concept of closed loop and how that actually been related to the extrusion process. So let's go and back to the 3D Studio Max. So I'm gonna come here, go to line, and I'll just sketch anything like this. And when I end, if I leave that open, it's okay, and I'll do that. Let's go first option, and then the second option, trying to sketch as close as to the previous shape, but this time I will end up from or to the same point that I start from. And when I click, ask me this really short question, really important one: do you want to make it close S-Pline? So yes, indeed. So it's gonna close that guy with that guy. I think we need to change the setting into corner by corner to get up from this curved side at this point. But anyhow, if I go now and select this guy, and I go to modify and then pick the extrude command, which is the command that we're going to use all our lives to change the 2D shapes into 3D majorly. So you can again add an amount of extrusion. If I zoom in, because it's so far away in all viewports, see, the amount is the amount actually of the extrusion. See, it's open. It's look like a fence or a piece of paper, or you know, that's what the open loop or open shape create. Look, the closed loop or the closed shape, if you add the same thing to it, which is the same extrude I mean, you see now it's really important to understand that. So if the shapes you are designing, like lines for example, are open, take a good understanding of the concept of closing that loop or that open shape. So when you end up, you see this yellow thing, which is your start point. That's why he yellow it, or 3D Studio Max yellow it for you. So you know that when you want to finish and make a closed loop, you have to end to it, and you have to say yes. And here, then you go to the modify thing and add it, so you can go and create a closed shape, and that goes up and down with the amount of extrusion you have. And also you have to keep in mind that the closed loop, if they are created inside each other, which is having the similar idea in the egg, if you add an extrude to that, and this time I'm gonna come here just to exercise some modification work, right click copy, and then select this guy, right click paste. You're gonna see that when you have two closed loop inside each other, which is like this. I'm just offing it, not deleting it. You're gonna have, this is the distance from here to here is only the area where it's gonna be solid. Inside it's gonna be, you know, empty. So you have to understand with this nested or shapes that sit inside each other, we call them nesting, and that nested shape is actually creating holes like that. And we're gonna talk more detail in case in Spline modeling about this behavior. And now that's most of the commands are, most of them actually creating closed loop like this, the ellipse, and you see that all of them actually closed loop, except I think the line and helix, which you need to take good care. Text is really an example that you're going to deal with it all your life, trying to make 3D text out of 2D shapes. Add that as a way to show off, adding text, adding your name to the project, whatever. See, it's really important and it's really easy, and they are all closed, and some of them have closed shape like this, and that's why, like, not like this one, only one closed shape. Anyway, so that's basically the concept of closed loop. One last thing is, you might notice that all the shapes, not really all of them, but most of them, when you select them, or by the time when you create them, like this, you have those length, width, and corner, and when you go to the modify, it's not almost, it's actually the same, but not all of those are parametric. So this is parametric, right? And we call it parametric. Same thing what we have with the 3D shapes, because when you create, you have those parameters, and when you go to the modifier after the creation, you get the same. Notice that that's not true for the line specifically, for some of them. So it doesn't have log those settings. Okay, when you go to modify, voila, nothing. Okay, so that, because you're gonna create those points, and he allow you, or actually Max allow you to click and create those relationship, but after that you're not going to change those relationship. You need to understand how to change those vertex, which is technically a points. So those are vertex. See, it allow you to make sub-object modeling. That's sub-object. If you turn that off, that's an object modification. You can rotate, you can stretch, you can add extrude. If you open here and click here or click here, you are now in the sub-object modification. I'm not affecting the whole line, I'm affecting this point and this segment and this segment. So we call this point vertex, and the difference between vertex and point as a definition, that this is part of an object and it have lines go that way and lines go that way, while the point is just at XYZ location in the space. Segment, which is this piece of line again, which you can goes up and down with it, and you're gonna move the two points or two vertex around it, and we call it segment. We don't call it line again because it's part of a bigger object and it's connected to those sides. And finally, Spline, and when you select it, it's gonna cause a little bit of confusion. You're gonna select all the lines for you, and when you move it, you're gonna move all the lines with it, and now you're gonna kill the basic understanding that you just have for what is the difference between the sub-object modeling and the object modeling, because if you turn off this, all the object will move. If you turn it on and select the full Spline, all the object will move. Now you have very right to be confused, but anyway, in order to make you understand this, I can turn this off, and again, the whole object is those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or whatever amount of segments. So if I navigate down, that's a really long command. I'm going to try to explain more for you in the Spline lecture, but for now I'm just attach a sub command here, and I'm going to select this guy. Oops. And then I go here, attach, and for some reason it's not working. Yep. So attach, what is happening? Oh yeah, it isn't attaching. That makes sense. Now I get a little bit scared. See this guy, and when you hit attach, it isn't work to this 2D line because this is not 2D line anymore. It's been changed into 3D. See, that's why I scared the hell out of myself now, because it's not an object, not a 2D object now. So Max is preventing me from attaching this guy to this guy. This is the 3D object now, and you're not allowed to do that. So okay, really freaked out. So let's draw another 2D line, because here in the top of view it looked like just a 2D, while in reality you're just having a top view of this 3D object. Anyway, let's go and draw this line. Now select that guy and you go to modify, and that might attach, and then select this. You see this icon telling you that you're gonna attach it. Good, now it's been attached. If I turn off this guy and move them together, now there are two shapes, two splines actually in the same object. So again, those points, this is segments, and splne, I can select this guy and move it, or select this guy and move it. See, again, the whole guy here, the whole lines, chain of lines, the whole spline is now a part of this bigger shape. Okay, now if I turn the sub object modification, I can go ahead and move them together. It's very similar to the group thing, except those are considered as one object, not a group of objects, and he deals with this line as a sub-object model. We call it S-Pline. Anyway, the whole thing, the whole technique here, we call that S-Pline modeling, and it's really important topic, and we're gonna have more information about it in the next lectures. So again, that's the idea of the difference of open and closed loop, and again, that's open loop. See how you, when you apply Extrude to it, you're gonna be open. There's no caps here, up and down. While when you make sure it's closed, you're gonna get this with the caps. Anyway, that's the amount, which is the most important thing in the Extrude modifier, that change 2D into 3D by extrude them straight and equally to the Z direction, to the Z axis. And last thing, or the last slide, which I just explained, the difference between the minutes that you create the objects, and how they differs between the create and the between when you create them and then when you modify them. And now that's the circle, for example, and see it's parametric. If when you create and you go to modify, it's the same. While we didn't have the same thing in the line. You saw when we changed the line and we change it into editable spline, it's automatically changed into editable spline, and you get this, which is a spline modification that have vertex like this, and segment, which is this piece of line, and then the whole spline. So again, if we back to Max, so you remember that again we said that line, and in the moment we create it, that's it, we have this parameter. But when we go to the modify, you see it's changed automatically to editable spline, rather than the thing that I have in this slide, PowerPoint slide, which I have circle. You see, if it have the only one parameter, which is radius, if you go to modify, it also have this parameter here for you. And let's have another shape. Let's go, I don't know, rectangle. See, 3 parameters. If you go to the modify, they are the same. So only the line have this, phenomena. It's been automatically changed into spline modeling. Anyway, if you want to change any of those into spline, it's very easy. Right click on it and then convert to, and then convert to editable spline. And now you see when you go to the modify, you have now points. There's no radius anymore, and you can distort that the way you like and make it like an apple or something. This guy, turn it off first, and then select this guy, right click, convert to editable Spline, and now you have points and you can distort the way you like, you know, like this, to make different shapes, or select the segment itself, make it bigger and taller, but you don't have now width and, you know, fillet corner. You don't have the parameter that you have when you go in the creation moment. You have this, and make sure after you finish working with editable Spline, you make sure to turn off the sub object level in order to work in the entire object model level, like this. So that's about it, and that's what I wanted to show you here, that there's a difference between some 2D shapes and when you go to modify, and some of them automatically switch into editable Spline modeling, which is different from the parametric modeling that we have. So all the box and 3D objects that we study, whether they are editable, sorry, whether they are primitive extended and standard primitives, both of them, which is the box and cylinder, all of them actually are parametric. Same with the 2D shapes, all of them parametric, because they have the ability to keep, even if they have one, you know, parameter here, you're gonna have that stayed and fixed for you, and you can, or actually have the ability to switch them into a different types. I'm talking about the 2D shapes of modeling. We call it the edit Spline modeling, and we're going to talk about that more in the next lecture. Thank you very much, and I wish that this